everybody, and welcome to Mind-Blowing Energy and You, bringing the woo-woo to everyday living. And before we get started, actually, I'd like to thank our sponsor for today, which is the Public Speakers Club, South Edmonton. And their next meeting will be April 26th at 6:30 at the IHOP on Ellerslie Road and 50th Street. And come and join us. Actually, it's a fabulous way, whether you're a beginner speaker or an expert speaker, gives you the opportunity to actually get up there and talk in front of an audience. So come and join us on April 26th, and we would love to see you there. And today, actually, I have an amazing guest that I heard speak at the YEG Women's High Vibe Tribe networking event. And everything that she talked about is just incredible, first of all. But there was something so intriguing about her and what she does that I just had to share her with you. So I would like to welcome Glenda Lane. Glenda, how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks, Lynn. Thanks for having me. It's so awesome to be here.
Yeah, well, I am so thrilled actually that you were able to do this like so quickly because I just met you last Friday night.
Yeah. Why not, right?
Oh, it was meant to be, guaranteed. So actually, just so everybody knows, Glenda is, like I said, the amazing part about it is she has combined 27 years of experience as a physical therapist and 7 years as an intuitive transformational coach. I don't know why I'm having a hard time getting that out today. It's a big word.
Yeah.
So Glenda basically helps people tap into their innate body wisdom and return home to their hearts and remember the truth of who they are. And Glenda, I could go on and explain more about what you do, but honestly, you will do a much better job. So just tell us more about what you do and like how it benefits your clients.
Yeah, sure. So I kind of have two businesses. The one, the physical therapy one, we'll call it that, just because I am a licensed physical therapist, is really, people come to me obviously with some type of body symptom, physical symptom that they're having a problem with. Most of the time it's pain or tension of some description, some dysfunction. And what I've done is being able to combine what I do with my intuitive energy coaching with my physio skills to really look at the person as a whole, mind, body, spirit, and really get to the root of what their physical symptom is. Because what I've come to know in working with people's bodies for all these years is that a large majority of the time, what's at the root of that physical symptom is not a physical issue, right? There's a blocked emotion, there's a belief, there's a protective mechanism, and I could talk more about that later, but just that how they've been operating that is out of alignment with the truth of who they are. And their body is telling them that something's off, right? They're using, the body is using symptoms like pain and dysfunction and tension as a way of getting our attention to say, hey, like something's off here, something is out of alignment. And then it's a matter of, okay, well, where is that? It could be a physical thing. It could be physically out of alignment. But a lot of times it's what we're thinking, right? Which then obviously dictates how we're feeling. And so that's kind of the fun part for me, being the detective in a way, right? And working with the person. So, it's not just about me coming up with the answers, because that's not how it works. We have our own innate body wisdom. So it's really helping people tap into that themselves, like help guide them so that they also learn how to do it on their own, that they don't need to keep seeing me anytime a symptom comes up, right? So to me, it's a very empowering process. I don't believe in gurus. I don't believe in handing our power over to someone to heal us.
Yeah.
Right? Like I don't ascribe to that at all. And so for me, it's so rewarding because I get to see Other people really come into their own and trust their own knowing and their own intuition. And when you're doing that, I mean, everything opens up for you, in life. So yeah, so that's what I do in my physical therapy practice, where I see people in person, obviously, and then I also coach people over the phone, or Skype, or whatever, depends on where they are, and I do the same thing. It's not always; they don't always have body symptoms. If they do, we use that as an entry point in, like a portal into, okay, what's going on energetically, and yeah, we really look at, okay, what. As of course, everything is energy. And so what is at the root of our problems, our perceived problems, right, is energetic. And so it's really, again, looking at what's going on there, being able to clear that. And then we're here, we're a body on a planet, right? We're here having a human experience. So there are some 3D things that also, steps that need to be taken, but not from a place of logically thinking in the mind, but more from this knowing, right? This guidance from your own soul. Because I truly believe that the body is the messenger of the soul. I mean, it's, it's our best friend telling us all the time when we're being a doink, right?
Yes, I agree totally.
Yeah, but I think what we've done as a society is certainly looked at our body, especially if it's hurting, especially if it's in dysfunction, as something broken and needing fixing, and as a burden, or something that is holding us back, when in fact it's like it's trying to get us to wake up, and our cells love us that much that they're willing to be in pain, they're willing to be in dysfunction to deliver that message to us. It's just up to us to actually listen to it, right? So
yeah, and that's one thing we really haven't been taught. And not only have we not really grown up or been taught that, but our medical system certainly doesn't support that.
No, it really doesn't. Although we're starting to see shifts and changes, thank goodness. There's this new field. I always get it wrong, but I think it's what is it? Oh, see, I can't remember. It's psycho something immunology. Sorry. Anyway, it's a new field. Psychoneuroimmunology. What they're actually proving is that what we're thinking and how we're feeling, such as stress, literally is affecting our health, right? It literally is. It's not just a thing. In the field of epigenetics, of course, has opened that up too. Right? So science is catching up with us, which is awesome. We're not just so woo anymore. We're actually seeing that, this, even though we experience it and we know it to be true, for people to wrap their heads around it, is nice to have the science to back it up.
Yeah, and that's one thing I find super important, and you probably notice it as well, is just, we are a society that, we believe what's, in a sense, proven by science.
Right.
And, in a sense, it's kind of odd, actually, because if we were more aware, some of the ancient cultures and things like that, we'd already know, we'd intuitively know that so many of these things are true, but nowadays we, need the scientific proof and backing.
Yeah, well, and I totally understand it, because, I haven't been in this energy work forever. I've been a physio, which is very, very science-based. I was very black and white, show me the proof, almost very tunnel vision. Yeah. And so I just laugh every time I even think about where I am now and what I'm doing. I never would have thought I would end up working with energy, but so I totally understand that. But what I've come to know in sort of my experience with energy work is, for now, to me, true knowing it's not a mind thing. It's not a logical thing. True knowing is experiencing, right? Yeah, good point. Is knowing. So through my experience with energy work, through my experience of my own journey, I now know it to be true, right? On a deep cellular level, and it's not a head thing. Yeah.
But, that is one thing that actually, like, I'm sure I've mentioned this several times, but I absolutely sucked in school. Like, I had no interest in school whatsoever.
Yeah.
The fact that I graduated high school and actually have post-secondary is unbelievable.
Yeah.
But, and yet when it came to now reading about the science, like you were talking about, like epigenetics, quantum physics,
right.
I all of a sudden it was like, oh my God, I found my passion.
Yes.
And but being able to, I guess, relate that physical to the spiritual is just amazing.
Yeah.
And
it is.
It opens up the world, like, just unbelievably. And all of a sudden we aren't, I guess, in a sense, victims to, our bodies. We aren't victims to all these other things.
Yeah.
When you start tying them in together. And like what you do, I get what you're saying. Like, I can't imagine actually having gone to university and studying something that is very, like you said, black and white, and then stepping into the energetic world that is anything but.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a crazy ride, I gotta say. I mean, especially because, and this is a very general statement to make, but most physical therapists, our marks had to be stupidly high to even get into the program. Yeah. So we tend to be very driven type A people, right? And so to be in that world, and also to basically, and I'm hoping they're not teaching this anymore, I'm not sure, but certainly it was, we were basically trained to fix people, right? Implying that they were broken and needed fixing. And then it was up to us, right? And that's what actually took a toll on my body, was really taking that responsibility on. It was like, okay, I gotta get this person better, and really carrying that, which took a toll on my body. And now I realize that, no, wait a second, my patients are all powerful beings in their own right. I'm not here to fix them. First of all, they're whole and complete. They don't need fixing. And, I'm literally side by side with them on this journey, and using my intuition as guidance to help guide them to their own answers. And I really, like, that shift for me, Lynn, has been crucial. I wouldn't be able to continue as a physical therapist had I not had that shift, because it literally was killing me. Like, I'm not kidding,
Wow.
all it was taking on my body. I've had 5 melanomas now. So, it's, like, literally. And I really got this message a few years back of, if I keep going this way, I am going to end up, in an early grave. I really, again, had that deep knowing. So those are the things that have really sort of shifted for me in how I work with people. And it's way more fun. Way more fun and way more rewarding, truly. And I have the privilege of being part of it, which is, we're in co-creation, just like we're in co-creation with the universe. Right. I get to co-create with my clients. It's just way more funner.
I guess funner. Yes.
Funner.
The lesser known word in the English language. Yeah.
It's a good one. It's fun to say.
It should be in the dictionary.
I think so.
Well, like, all of these things that you do it just fascinates me. Like, I think we were just talking briefly before we started here, is, like, I have no interest in going to a physio. But when, I heard about what you did, all of a sudden I was like, okay, hang on a second. It's not just the going through the physical motions.
No. It's
actually looking at so much more. And in a sense, actually giving me the power back, like, if, or any of your clients, giving them the power back to take, control of their lives and their bodies.
Yeah, it is. And I think also too, just, literally seeing people kind of have this realization of how much they do know.
Yeah.
That kind of reconnection with who they really are, having this understanding of, how I've been operating in life is actually not in alignment with who I really am. No wonder things aren't working, or no wonder. And, there's a process I take people through where we really have a look at, when their symptoms started coming up and what was going on for them at the time. And it's like you can see the lights going off of, wow, okay, that is totally related to what was, you know, the stressor or whatever was going on
Right.
in my life at the time. And so being able to see them shift from what they thought was the truth to what is actually the truth is beautiful. Like it really, they literally are like, you can see the transformation. Can I share an example with you?
Please do.
I had this fellow come to see me. My husband's a massage therapist too. And he had a fellow that he referred to me. So he came to see me. Had a 10-year history of low back pain. He had injured a disc 10 years prior. Was working up in the oil field, you know, sleeping on crappy beds for like 2 weeks at a time, and was doing it all, right? Seeing the chiropractor and massage and, you know, other physio, and you know, things would improve for a bit, but then it would always come back. And so, you know, he came in and you know, super nice guy, and but, you know, like a little gruff and a little, you know, and so totally. So here's me making an assumption like, oh, he's not going to be into the energy stuff, right? Like right. So this was just an assumption, which never make, by the way, you'll see why in a second. So anyway, we ended up like, yes, I had a look at his back, and yes, I gave him a few exercises. But really we got into this discussion of, you know, his low back pain, and we saw when it started and what was going on in his life. And really what it was related to was his perception at that time in his life of losing his freedom.
Oh.
Yeah. And he didn't, but he just went from being this happy-go-lucky guy, loving life, had been, you know, up until that point. And then all of a sudden was landed with like way more responsibility. And, you know, money had never really been a thing for him up until that point, but now with all the added responsibility, it became a thing. And so, you know, so we were just able to really pinpoint and then have this like, and also this really having a look at his belief that he wasn't going to get better. Because, you know, 10 years, there's a lot of false evidence there, right? To say that, no, I've seen all these people, it's been 10 years and it hasn't changed. So really like, okay, we need to look at this, because as long as you believe that, then, you know, it's going to get better. And anyway, long story short, he came in, I think it was his third or fourth session with me, and he looked completely different. He looked 10 years younger. And like if a guy could glow, he was glowing, right? And he sat down and I'm like, what? Like, what's going on? He goes, my back pain's gone.
Oh.
And I said, what? And he's like, yeah, totally gone. I said, what do you think, you know, like why? And he said, my perspective on life is totally different now. It's shifted.
Really?
Yeah. And so and nothing had changed. He was still going up north. He was still sleeping in the crappy beds, right? And his life perceptively on the outside hadn't changed at all. But what had changed was how he was the lens that he was looking at life through, which ultimately dictates our reality. So, you know, it's that kind of thing. And I just, you know, and I really, did I put my hands on him? Yeah, I treated him a little bit with my hands, nothing major. I really believe, and as he said, it was the shift in his perspective. So, you know, and I've literally had people where, you know, I had someone in who had hip pain the other day and was going down her leg, and again, took her through some processes, and as we're doing that, it literally like left. It was gone, right? So it just points out that when pain does that, when pain can shift without, you know, with just a shift in consciousness or perception, then we know it's not a tissue issue. We know it can't be just a physical thing if by thinking differently or having or even allowing an emotion to be released, you can shift what you're feeling, right? So this is what I see all the time now. Yeah. And are there some physical things? Sure. But, you know, I really look at my specialty. In fact, sometimes even if it is a real physical thing, I'll refer them to another practitioner.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, just because I mean, if it's something I can treat, then obviously I will.
Yeah.
But if it's something that I feel like, no, I really think you could benefit from like more frequent treatment of this,
Right.
because the way that I do treat, I see people for an hour at a time,
Mm-hmm.
which is quite unusual in the physio world. It's usually every 15
Yeah.
minutes, right? It's like they usually book every 15 minutes for treatment. The last clinic I worked at, they do every half hour, which was like totally awesome. But I just find for me, it's an hour. I don't need to see people as often.
Yeah.
You know, because we have the time to actually get deeper. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Versus when half an hour is up, it's like you're just starting to get into it, right? So yeah, so that's kind of and it blows my mind every time. I think I'd be used to it by now, but I just think that it's very cool, and then I experience that myself too, Lynn. Like I'll have pain and I'll go and lie down and I'll just bring my awareness to it and some breath,
Right.
and it shifts, right?
Yeah. Well, and it is so incredible and like just unbelievable, the stories you hear about people that exactly what you're talking about, just through shifting their perception and just altering their beliefs even just a little sometimes. So many people refer to it, or in so many cases, as the placebo effect, and it gets written off, and it's like, okay, hang on a second, like how can you write off especially people that are all of a sudden cancer free, like spontaneous remission from different things, and doctors go, well, it's just the placebo effect. And it's like, okay, they're healthy. Like, I am not following how you can downplay the strength and power of belief.
Yeah.
And just shifting how that makes a difference.
Well, I think we're coming to the point where it's not being downplayed as much.
Yeah.
With Bruce Lipton's work, the biology and epigenetics, and then this new psychoneuroimmunology field.
Yes.
It is starting to, it's certainly not mainstream medicine, absolutely not, but I think it's coming. And, there's been so many really well done studies on the placebo and the nocebo effect, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So, one of my first questions that I actually ask people is, do you believe that you can be, pain-free? Do you believe that you can feel better? And if the answer is no, then it's like, okay, we can't go any further until we address that,
Yeah.
What you believe you achieve or you conceive or, whatever it is, our thoughts really have that much power. So, and I think the other thing people don't really understand is that we actually get to choose. We have free will, and we do get to choose what we believe. We also get to choose how we feel. And again, so many people feel victim to feelings, especially people who are very energetically sensitive, they feel a lot. And so they feel taken over in a way. Right. And so, and that's been certainly my story in the past too. But it's like, no, you actually are a sovereign being. You get to say how you feel, and it's just knowing what to do. It's knowing the tools to allow yourself to feel better.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, you don't need a special gift. It's kind of like, to me, everyone's an empath.
Yeah.
Empath. We all have the ability to feel. And so, some of us, and it's like any muscle, if you don't use it, it atrophies, right? And then the more you use it, the more you feel. And then some of us actually feel too much because it's almost like we put, almost like we have little satellite dishes in each of our cells, right? And because of something that happened as a kid that was scary, we decided, again, this is all subconscious. It's not like we sit there and decide this, but we decided, okay, we're going to turn all these satellite dishes out so that we know what's going on. We know what's coming down the pipe so that we can be ready, right? So that we don't get hurt again. And so, there's a range in sensitivities to energy, but everyone can feel it and has the ability, let's put it that way, to feel. So, you get to choose. And I think that is another part of my work that I love is empowering people to have that understanding
Mm-hmm.
that they are a sovereign being, and they do get to say, and they don't have to be victim to energies of other people and what's going on around them. Because what a lot of people will do that are sensitive is hide out,
Mm-hmm.
because they can't deal with, because it's uncomfortable. It's super uncomfortable when you're feeling other people's energy.
Yeah.
So, they'll hide out, or they'll hermit, and they'll not interact with others for fear of getting hurt. But the problem is not being in heart connection with others is the thing that's hurting us the most, right?
Yeah.
So it's really like this understanding of no, actually you do have a say in how you feel, and you don't have to hide out. There's ways of being with energies. And it takes practice. I mean, it's, you can't just flick a switch. You can't just go, oh, okay, today I'm not going to be sensitive. It's like, it takes practice. You've got to use tools. You got to, right, and be committed to that for yourself. And for me, I just got to the point where I was like, you know what, I'm done feeling like shit. Sorry, am I allowed to swear?
Go ahead.
I'm just done feeling like crap. I don't want to be stressed all the time. I don't want to feel that fight or flight, that anxiety, that I'm done. And knowing that it's literally having a damaging effect on my body.
Yeah.
And my well-being, right? So, it took me 5 melanomas to get that message, and, other dysfunctions in my body with hormones and digestion and all of that. I finally got the message, but, you don't have to get to that point to really have this understanding that, stress is an option.
Yeah.
It really is. And I think people understanding that, it's, I can trigger people sometimes when I say that. They're like, but you don't understand my life, and you don't, and I get it, right? Like, I understand that they are, there's some situations that are highly stressful for people.
Yeah.
And just their experience, that traumas that they've had in life. So I'm not trying to downplay that at all, but also knowing that, yes, it still is an option. You can change how you feel. And how you feel is so paramount to the lives we're creating, because that's literally how we create. We create with this vibrational frequency that we're emanating, right? And our emotions all have vibrational frequency to them. Mm-hmm. There's lower level ones, and then there's higher level vibrational frequencies. So, if we're stuffing emotions like shame and guilt and anger, and because they're uncomfortable, or we've been taught that they're bad, right? That we shouldn't be feeling those things. They are sending out a signal because they're still in us, know? So it's not, we can't just ignore, we can't just push them down. They literally start to have damaging effect on us, and they affect our vibrational frequency that we're emanating.
Yeah. And actually there's just, that kind of brings us back to epigenetics as well, is, changing the environment, which, when you do change your perspective, your beliefs, your thoughts, you start changing all of that, it shifts your body. And, so scientifically through epigenetics, they've proven that. Well, and a lot of things that aren't, what we've called genetic for so long.
Yeah.
That was one of the things that fascinated me the most, is how many things we have learned generation to generation about dealing with certain types of stress or situations, and it causes the same physical response. Yeah. So all of a sudden people are saying, well, it's genetic, and it's like, maybe not. You might have just learned that response. Maybe it's time to take control and break that chain of, from generation to generation.
Yeah.
Which is always one of the coolest things I found about epigenetics. But actually, I want to go back to something else, actually, that you talked about in your talk the other night, was with your DNA.
Yes.
Just explaining the little dudes on the end that are transmitting and receiving the energy.
I love that. I'm going to call them little dudes from now on.
I couldn't remember the actual word for it. So
I like your word better.
Okay, well, we'll go with little dudes.
Yeah, so they are called telomeres.
Right.
Okay, so telomeres, so I'll just do very basic biology just for people. Each of our cells has a nucleus, and in that nucleus are our DNA strands, and each DNA strand has our genes, right? And so at the end of these DNA strands are what are called telomeres. And there's actually been a fair bit of research done on these, and I'm not going to get it right, so I'm not going to say exactly, but in terms of even how long you live, the length of your telomeres determines a bunch of different things in terms of like you can be a certain age, but biologically, right, you can have a different age. And I think they actually have shown that the telomere length determines that. And the problem is we don't use these telomeres enough. These are like our abilities, right? Our cosmic abilities almost. And then they atrophy, just like when we don't use a muscle, right? It'll tend to atrophy over time. So, as kids, we are trained out of listening to our intuition. Yeah. We're trained out of listening to our own instincts. We are taught to use our logical minds. Right? We all come in, and kids, you just watch them, right? When they're little, they know stuff, right? And especially the kids that are coming onto the planet today, they are so well equipped, and they just, they're our teachers for sure. But, they have this knowing, and they really sort of march to the beat of their own drum, and really, they are just curious. They're here to play and create and have fun. And then we develop an ego, which is a whole other, we're not born with an ego. We develop it between the age of 4 to 7 as a result of an experience that we have where we we decide, we need some safety here because, the world isn't safe and people can be mean and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So we're literally trained out of those instincts once the ego comes on board, and just through our upbringing, and obviously it depends on who your parents are. If your parents are very spiritual and into this, you're not going to be trained out of it as much as someone who is more logical minded. And so we get trained out of, so these telomeres, they are this is actually how we communicate with the universe. And what happens on these telomeres, you can imagine they're like receivers and transmitters, right? So we receive photon packages of light information from the universe, right? And then we transmit back out our vibrational frequency in turn. And then the universe receives that and then sends us different information back, right? So there's this conversation that's going on constantly. And it's, whether you're putting your awareness on it or not, but you can literally feel if you close your eyes, and I just use my arm as a body part, but if you just kind of put your attention on your arm and the cells, think down to a cellular level, and then just become really aware of the sensation there. And so when you do that, what do you notice as a sensation?
It's a tingling.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a tingling, it's like a buzzing, right? And so, that's literally energy exchange going on. And so, it is happening all the time. Again, we tend to walk around from here up and being disconnected from our bodies, right? Which is, one of the things that I really work with my clients on is coming down and in to the body where our wisdom lies for us, right? These telomeres. So literally this is how we are communicating. As well, our heart has an electromagnetic frequency, right? So the Heart Math Institute in California, they have measured the electromagnetic frequency of someone's heart. Yeah. And I think the most they've got is up to 8 feet, which is huge, right? Typically sort of somewhere between this 2 to 8 feet. And so that is giving off, and the electromagnetic frequency of your heart is greater than the electromagnetic frequency of your brain, right? So if we're really looking at what is the real brain of the body, it's the heart, right? So to access that wisdom, to be in your heart, requires you're down and in your body, and you're not just walking around a head on a stick, right? So, which was my story for years. I was a head on a stick for sure. And for, I think that one of the reasons was, there's many, but one of them was I had chronic neck and back pain, and I didn't want to be with it. I didn't want to feel it. Like, I didn't want it to hold me back. I didn't want to acknowledge it. I just wanted to get on and do what I wanted to do. And I didn't want to feel the pain. So I literally would like shut off and not be in touch with what I was feeling.
Yeah.
Right? Which I think people who do have pain on a chronic basis, that's something that, very easy habit, right, to get into, is not being in connection with your body.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, definitely. There's so many more things I would love to chat about with you, but we're pretty much out of time here. Because there's so many things actually that are similar between us and what we do, except for, of course, I'm nowhere near a physical therapist.
Well, and you don't have to be, it's really,
no.
No, everyone has their own flavor, right?
Exactly, but it is just so interesting to talk to you. And you know what, actually, before we get going here, you have a workshop coming up, I believe, April 29th, is it?
Yeah, I've decided to put a workshop together for teenage girls. And the reason is I was just having, with my clients, they're like, can you do a workshop for, my daughter? Because, and it's about navigating stress and anxiety, because it's so prevalent amongst our teens these days. And it's just a matter, for me, what I want to do is really help empower them, at least to have an understanding, first of all, of what's going on and why they're feeling what they're feeling. And then to be able to give them some tools to start being able to navigate when they are in stress and anxiety, how to shift out of that, but ultimately not to even get in it in the first place, right? So again, these ideas, this perspective of, and really sort of educating them on what is actually causing them to be stressed in the first place. So that's on Sunday, April 29th. It's at 7 till 9:30 in the evening. And it's being held in Edmonton at the Providence Renewal Center. And and I have tickets are available through Eventbrite. So I have a link which she'll send to you.
Perfect. Yeah.
And so people can access it that way. And what I have said is, what I would love is for the daughter to come with a parent. Doesn't matter if it's mom or dad, because I think it's just really good to, I think they'll feel more supported. And I think if both, parent and daughter have an understanding, be able to support one another and guide each other even. So that's why I've made it. It's like a 2 for 1 ticket is for, it's 1 ticket per family. So even if you've got, 2 girls and 1 parent, or if 2 parents and a daughter want to come, it's just the same.
Oh, okay. Great.
Just making it accessible for people. So I'm excited to be doing, and it'll be experiential, it won't just be yipping at people. It'll be actually, which is not good. And I don't enjoy, I actually love like taking people through the experience, right? And there's that feeling, right? So, so that's coming up at the end of the month.
Oh, that sounds awesome and fabulous. Well, thanks so much for being here, Glenda. And I hope we can have you on again in the future.
Absolutely. It was so much fun to play with you. And I know I could talk about this stuff for days on end.
Yeah, me too. I know. And sometimes it's so hard to try and keep things to, at least, a reasonable time, because there is so much to talk about and so much to share with people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So thanks again, Glenda.
Thank you. It was awesome.
And I just want to thank our sponsors. So the Public Speakers Club in South Edmonton, and they are supporting us to bring this to you every Thursday with more amazing guests like Glenda. So I'm Lynn Prophet with Living Currents Energy and Life Coaching. And at the end of the podcast here, I'll give you some contact information as well as the link for Glenda and to her workshop. And as well, if you want to find out more about myself, you can go to livingcurrents.com. And I'll also have some of my contact information up at the end of the podcast. So thanks for tuning in. And next week, we will have another amazing guest. So until then, everybody go have a great week.